This is the fourth and final week in our marriage series. I've so thoroughly enjoyed sharing this. This will be third session I've been involved in. John was here in the first session, did such a great job talking about parenting. And then the last 2 weeks, I talked about guaranteed ways to ruin your marriage. And we've heard just through a short series, because it's been a relatively short series, so many great testimonies and just people telling us how much it's helped them in their marriage. And in fact, right before first service today, somebody coming up talking to me about last week's message, the impact it had on him, the impact it had on them, the couple as a married couple. And that's what it's all about. That's what we like to hear. Amen. We want to know that it's making a difference in your life. So this morning, as you can see, I've asked a very special person in my life. I think she's a very special person in this church. How about you? To join me today. So great to have you up here with us.
It's good to be here.
My lovely wife of 47 years.
Yes, yeah.
47 and a half.
I think.
One of us is getting old. Yeah. I thought we were 47. I thought we were 47 this year. Yeah. We've been married that long, huh? No.
Yeah.
So obviously, we've been married 47 years, got 11 wonderful children and a dog. Come on.
Grandchildren.
11 grandchildren. I said 11 children.
Yeah.
Dear God, I would have
Thank
never
God
had 11
we didn't
children.
Have 11. Yeah, we had 3. Yeah.
Just shoot me.
No. Grandkids are totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thank you.
This is not what you always enjoy doing.
No,
You like
don't.
talking with people.
I like it just in a smaller setting to where we're having coffee and always have to have something to eat.
Yeah.
But,
You ready to do this though?
But I must have did okay this morning.
You did.
Because you got me back up here. So
I did. So yeah, I did.
We had kind of.
I do have one complaint. So about that, I gave you a list of things to say about me.
Oh.
And I didn't hear very many things in that list.
Just one, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I thought maybe I lost count after one, but apparently not. You're very aware of that too, huh?
Right. Well,
anyway.
Do you want me to tell them what we were doing? We were actually on our way out. We were getting ready to be on the road. And so we had kind of talked about it last night. And then we decided.
Yeah, we got a long drive ahead of us.
We were going to go ahead and leave after first service and just show the video.
Yeah.
But we got out in the car and we kind of both looked at each other and said,
Yeah,
what
let's
do you
go
think?
back in here.
Let's
It's
go.
just an hour.
So
What?
So he must have really thought I
Yeah,
did
we just
okay.
we just get a little later.
He's got me back up here. So.
All right, so just real quickly, a couple of reminders, and then we'll jump right into this. We've told you every week, starting off, that marriage is God's idea. And since it's God's idea, marriage works. But the only way it works is when you do it God's way. If you do it the world's way, it's not going to work. If you do it your way, it's not going to work. How many know the only way it works is to do it God's way? And that's what Matthew chapter 7, when it's talking about being a wise builder, it's talking about building our lives, building a marriage, building a family, whatever. He says the wisest person hears the word, which is what you're doing, sitting here. But he takes one more step after that, and he also applies it. It's not enough just to hear it. You've also got to be a doer of it. And how many know being a doer of it, therein lies the challenge, isn't that right? Because doing it means we've generally got to change something that we're doing, probably a little different than the way God tells us to do it. I love what Jimmy Evans says. He says, your marriage has a 100% chance of succeeding as long as you do your marriage God's way. Then we talked about how marriage is work, and it is work. A great marriage isn't a matter of fate. It doesn't just happen by chance. You have to make some very wise decisions, wise choices along the way, and you have to do the work of building a great marriage. And we have put some work into building our marriage, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
You know, I think whenever we first got married, though, we thought, well, we love each other. If you love each other, then you shouldn't have to work. It shouldn't have to work at being married, and work at loving each other. Ha, ha, ha. And, that's a very immature way of thinking. We discovered after many years, I wish it hadn't have been, but we did a great job of just ruining our marriage, just absolutely destroying our marriage in so many ways. And finally turned to God, said, God, we need your help, started applying biblical principle in our life.
Yes.
And God turned our marriage around. And so that means we had to go to work on our marriage. But that being said, we still work on our marriage.
We work on it every day.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We do.
I think we're going to talk about a little bit about kind of like reset
Yeah.
in our marriage.
Which we had to do a lot of. In fact, that's the title of the
Yeah.
message today is we're going to give you 10 resets for your marriage. 10 things that you can do to help reset your marriage.
Right.
And the whole idea of resetting your marriage actually comes from the idea of your computer, your phone. Everybody has a computer, everybody has a phone and smartphone. And man, they're great, aren't they? As long as they're working right.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, they'll have some system issues and something internal isn't right. And generally when it's not, your computer, your phone will start acting up. And one of the main things it does, if you think about it, is the little wheel will start turning, just forever. It's not loading like it's supposed to, right? And it's kind of stuck. And I remember back in the day, I didn't know what was going on. So I called and I said, what's going on? They said, oh, it's simple. You just need to reset your computer. And so back then, you had to push a couple different buttons. And when you did, you pushed those, the computer would shut down, come back on, and it reset. And voila, worked good as new. Yeah. And so I thought about our marriage and how, man, it really is a lot like that because everything will be going pretty good. And then probably because we haven't been applying ourselves like we should or whatever, and we've started allowing some things to get into our marriage that are now corrupting it a bit, yeah? And so we get stuck, things in marriage isn't going right, and we have to do a reset. And I told first service, tell you the same thing. I think it's very much like your computer. It's generally not just one thing you need to do, one button you need to push to get the reset. I think very often there's at least a couple things you need to do to get a reset. So,
and I think a lot of people think because we're the pastors, that we're up front a lot, that we don't ever have an argument. We don't ever have any issues or problems. But we do.
We're Bible people. We're faith people.
Yes.
We're their pastors. We shouldn't have problems.
But we do.
We do.
Yeah. We have to hit that reset button like every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 or 3 times a day.
Well, it's not every day.
Well.
But it's frequently.
Sometimes on my end.
Yeah.
It is. But.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not bad in a bad way, but.
Yeah.
Just have to hit it sometimes because of the way I'm thinking about things. Or
yeah.
something.
See, anyway. So I want to be very honoring, so I'm just being very careful about what I say right here. So, no. Okay. So anyway, her saying that, she's right. We have the same issues you do. We tend to argue on occasion. Yeah. We have very strong opinions.
Yes.
We can get a little loud. We can kind of name call. We don't do that much anymore. We used to. We can do a lot of things that you do too. And so we have to work on it. We have to have resets. And we honestly do this. This is not a message. We're just making this up. We do this. It's probably more often me who will initiate this. But I'll come and say, hey, listen, I want to apologize. I've not been talking to you right. I realize I've been a little quick, a little hateful, whatever. But I don't like where things are going right now. I don't like the way, we're treating each other. Let's stop. And let's stop this, and let's reset, let's restart, and let's do what we know to do to have things go well in our marriage. Yeah. And we do.
We do, yeah. And I said in first service that I am like the peacemaker in our home, but you didn't really agree with that.
No, because she doesn't like conflict.
No.
At all. And so what she'll do, instead of honestly making peace, is she'll go off and try to avoid it and think that it'll just go away and everything will be all right. When the truth is, I'm a problem solver. And so I'm sitting in there and I'm stewing.
Yes.
And so we've had to have this conversation where, don't walk off. Let's have this conversation because let's honestly make peace here by dealing with the situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And generally in a marriage, there's always one who's, more ready for the confrontation, one who's less inclined to. And so you have to realize, hey, we need to do this if we're going to get on the same page, which is the first point that's actually up there, and we'll move on from it really quick, is you need to normalize the need for a reset. Don't make a big deal out of the fact that, hey, we need to have a reset here. We're not treating each other the way we ought to. We're not talking to each other the way we should, so let's reset. I think as Christians, we make a big deal out of it sometimes, like the enemy's attacking our marriage, And the truth is, he's not everywhere at one time, so he probably isn't attacking your marriage in the moment. What's happening is there's just two people who both have issues, who are endeavoring to grow together and become more one, and you're having to deal with some issues a little better to get more on the same page and to become more one. Does that make sense? Yeah. So just, normalize the need for resets. And so number 2, choose to speak life-giving words. Because I've noticed that in our marriage, anytime we're needing a reset, it's highly likely, it's very probable that we begin giving place to saying things to each other that we probably shouldn't be saying. And we're saying things in ways with attitudes behind it, that we shouldn't have. Yeah. And so, we can say let's do a reset, but if we keep talking like that to each other, nothing's going to change, right?
And there is times when I would say something to him, and then he would say, you didn't say that very nice. But then I would say, well, I didn't mean it to be like that. So I would try to excuse myself from that instead of looking and realizing that, I did say that in a way. If it was one of my friends, that I probably wouldn't have spoken to them that way like I did.
Which is what I brought to your attention.
Yes, you did. You would say, if you were with your friends, would you answer that way?
Yeah, now again, she has to get on to me, talk to me about things too. Just challenge me on things, however you want to word it. And, but she would say something that'd be kind of quick or kind of hateful. And I would say, hey, whoa, just a minute. And, she has friends that she hangs with. She loves hanging with them. Some of them are in here today. And she talks to them. Yeah. And I hear her conversations with them. And they're so pleasant. They're so delightful. They're so sweet. And then I'll say, hey, and it's not delightful. It's not pleasant. It's not sweet. And so I said, hey, well, just a moment. I said, I just heard you talking. And is that how you answered me? And well, maybe, I meant to. And I said, well, you didn't.
Right.
And I said, and she'll say, well, and she's got a good point, because she'll say, well, I didn't mean for it to sound that way. Well, see, I don't like you to do that, because she'll tell you that if she confronts me on something and I know I've done it, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yes.
When you say, well, I didn't mean for it to sound that way, it sounds to me like you're not owning it.
Right.
So I figure you're just going to turn right around and do it again. So I need you to own that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so again, I think in marriage, there's probably people that are going to be a lot like my wife. It's not necessarily the woman. The roles can shift, but there's going to be probably one of the spouses that's more like my wife, one that's more like me, and so you have to be thinking about each other in those moments. So if we're going to experience a reset in our marriage, we're going to have to reset our words. Right. Here's how important your words are. Proverbs 18:21. I'm reading it out of the Message Bible. Words kill, so the words I'm going to talk or speak can kill. Words give life. They're either poison or fruit, you choose. And so when I read that, I thought about, what? Nobody chooses my words for me. I'm the only one who decides what's going to come out of my mouth. And I didn't say this in the first service, but I'll tell you this. Very often, the only reason bad things are coming out of my mouth, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And it's because I've been thinking negative things about her, negative things about our relationship. And so negative things are coming out of my mouth. If I'm going to change what's coming out of my mouth, I've got to change the way I've been thinking about her, change the way I've been thinking about our marriage, my attitudes towards it. Do you see that? That's probably a good thought that, I didn't give. Proverbs 15:4, a wholesome tongue is a tree of life. A wholesome tongue. When I speak wholesome things, that's a tree of life. But perverseness in it breaks the spirit. So when there's perverseness, when there's, hateful things coming out of my mouth, it breaks the spirit. I don't want to break her spirit. Ephesians 4:29. I want you to read this one. This I thought was really good.
And never let ugly or hateful words come from your mouth, but instead let your words become beautiful gifts that encourage others. Do this by speaking words of grace to help them.
Love that.
We just remembered that scripture alone, and that would help us in, of course, our marriage relationship,
Tremendously.
but with any relationship, that we treat our words as gifts, that I'm giving you a gift. When I go out and pick a gift for you, or if I pick a gift for a friend or for one of my children, then I take time in doing that. I take time, I think about it. So I want my words to be that way too. When I get ready to speak something, I want to think about. So that may mean sometimes when we're in that reset moment, that I may have to just not talk at all and just kind of settle down a little bit, reset, think about what I'm going to say next.
That will help me.
Then, yes.
Because that's what if you read that verse, if you listen to her read that verse, that's what it's about.
Yes.
You're saying something that is a gift that will help that person,
them.
that will encourage.
Yes.
So in other words, she can choose to respond in kind to something I just said, which is not going to do anything but continue the argument, and the marriage is not going to get any better.
Right.
Or she can stop, I can stop in the moment, offer this word as a gift that helps them, it helps her in the moment, helps me in the moment, and it begins to turn the marriage around.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
And so it's very good. So Colossians, one of my favorite verses when it talks about your words, let your conversation be always full of grace. That would include your conversation with your spouse at home. Seasoned with salt. Season what you're about to say so that you may know how to answer everyone. So in that moment, whenever your spouse is upset, as I said, you can respond in kind. And it's just going to cause, the argument to continue. Or you can season what you're about to say and answer them in a way that will begin to turn that situation around. That's what Proverbs 15:1 says. Respond gently when you're confronted, and you'll diffuse the rage of another. Respond with sharp, cutting words will only make it worse. But here's our attitude. I keep thinking about this whenever I'm reading these words and listening to you even talk about it. What we very often think is this: well, when they talk nice to me, I'll talk nice to them.
Yeah.
Do you realize how brilliant we are? Do you understand how ridiculous that sounds? We're just responding in kind. It's just going to get worse. Somebody has to decide, I'm going to be obedient to the word. I'm going to do what works here, which is applying biblical principle, a soft answer, turning away wrath, offering a word that's a gift to that person to help encourage them in this moment so that we can diffuse this and turn it around in a good direction. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you want to reset your marriage, you got to change your words. Number 3, restore honor and appreciation. Restore honor and appreciation, because most of the time, very often, by the time you are ready to hit the reset button, there's some disrespect that started showing up in the marriage. Yes. Yeah, you've started maybe saying, hateful things, unkind things, whatever.
Yeah.
Just not being as respectful.
Right. And a lot of times, I know with us, especially in our earlier years, even in our latter years too, but we would always bring up something that had happened in the past, which didn't need to be brought up, but you think in the moment, I'll get him with this, or I'll say this, and that'll make him, think, but it doesn't.
There's no respect in that either.
No.
You're bringing up the past is really, how many know it's a very disrespectful, it's a very dishonoring thing to do.
Yeah.
Honor actually means high respect. Now, here's why I want you to understand that, because respect means a feeling of deep admiration for someone. So we're restoring deep admiration back into the relationship because we haven't been admiring each other. We've been kind of thinking critical of each other. We're restoring deep admiration back into the relationship because that's what we had for each other when we got married. And it's due regard for the feelings, wishes, and rights of others. So I'm taking into consideration her feelings and, as I respond to her in that moment. So you've got to restore That honor, you've got to restore that respect back to the relationship. And then when you do,
Right.
admiration
Yeah.
follows. Admiration follows on the heels of honor.
I know we were always quick at this too, to where we would always point out the wrong in each other. But then when it came to us responding on, sorry, on things that we do right, we didn't necessarily do that. We were always pointing out the wrong and not the good. So I think that's a
really
big
good point.
step too, is that we learn to do that. We learn to not always bring up the wrong and bring up the right, something that you do that's good, something that's right.
Because we would each say at different times, why is it the only thing you ever say that I'm doing is something wrong? Why is that the only thing you ever point out? What about all the things that I do right? I mean, no, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
So what does that indicate? Well, it indicates we need to restore honor, we need to restore respect, and we need to restore admiration back to the relationship. Here's why honor is so important. Romans 12:10, outdo one another in showing honor. What if we just made up our mind we were going to outdo each other in showing honor?
Yeah.
Instead of we're going to get even, we're going to outdo showing honor to each other, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Just think of how great that would make your marriage. And then here's what not having honor does in your relationship. And Jesus comes back to his hometown. He's been out preaching, performing miracles everywhere. He goes back to his hometown, people he loves. He wants to do miracles for them. And here's what it says. And the people became offended and began to turn against him. And Jesus said there's only one place a prophet isn't honored, and that's in his hometown. And their great unbelief kept him from doing any mighty miracles in Nazareth. So because they didn't honor Jesus for who he was, because they didn't show due regard for who he was, it kept him from being able to do miracles in their lives. Amen. I want God to be able to do a miracle in our marriage. He can't do a miracle in your marriage as long as you're continuing to dishonor, disrespect each other. Amen. Yeah. Number 4, this one seems so natural, but some of them are. They're just very simple things. Number 4, you need to put a date night back on your calendar. And you kind of got to determine whether it's every week or every other week or once a month. We're not going to tell you how often to do that, but it's got to be there. I remember, when we first met, that's all we did was go on dates.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say is that, your date night, it's just like everything in your life. You have seasons where you can do certain things and you can't. I know when our kids were small, we would, do something, have them, go upstairs, watch a movie or whatever, and then we would spend that quality time together. But as they got older, we found ourselves that we could go and do, other things like
dinner and a movie.
Yeah, dinner and a movie.
Then we got old.
Now we
cut out the
come
dinner.
home. Yeah.
We cut it. No, actually, first before we stopped dinner and a movie, we stopped the dinner.
Yeah.
And we just went to an early movie.
Yeah.
And we knew we were getting old because when we got to the early movie, only people there were old folks, just like us, Everybody in there was at least as old as we were. I said, I think we're getting old.
Yeah.
And now we don't even go to the movie. We just stop and get dinner, and we come home and watch a movie on Netflix. We just get back and take it easy. So, but it's us together.
Yes, that's the whole point, is that you've got to set that time.
Yeah.
And the date.
Spend time together.
When you're gonna, do something to where you can spend it. And again, in different seasons in your life, make it work.
Yeah.
You can make it work. You can have fun, just sitting in and watching a movie.
Yeah. We get too busy and we're not taking time for each other, which I didn't say this in the first service either. Wish I had said this, told them too. But whenever we have date night, and ours is actually Friday night. We don't do, if we don't go out with someone, which we don't do as often as we used to, man, that's a date night for us. We're home together. But my wife will tell you this, I'm not social media guy. I just don't like getting on social media. I check things out every once in a great while, but I'm not on there. She loves it because she's Miss Social. She's Mrs. Social.
Yeah.
She likes seeing what you all are doing. She stalks you guys all the time. She tells me what I need to teach on every week. No, I'm just kidding. But she likes, oh, did you know? No, I didn't know, babe. I don't really care, you know. But anyway, I'm serious. That's just who I am.
Right.
But she loves being on there. But on date night, put the phone down.
Yes.
Right? You know why? Because you can be in the same room, but if you're on your phone, checking out what everybody else is doing, texting someone, you might be present in the room, but how many know you're not present in the conversation? Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Date night's all about being present
Being
again
with each other.
and taking time for each other. Somebody put on one of the cards, one of the questionnaires, talk about the importance of date night, which I'm doing. We did last week too. But then they said, and of them scheduling it sometimes. Can I tell you, stop being so picky. It doesn't make any difference who schedules it. What matters is that you have it. You know, if you're the one who's just as better at keeping the calendar, making sure it gets done, then stop. You know, it's like sometimes we're just picking, we're trying to pick something to be upset about. Just appreciate the fact, here's our date night, and we're doing this together.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that sound good? All right, number 5. I think we're making better time than we did first service. Number 5, you need to discover your spouse's love language and then give to them accordingly, or give to them on the basis of their love language.
Right.
Now, I don't know if everybody in here understands what the 5 love languages are. I don't remember who came up with this, but it was a great book that came out probably 20 years ago. Was it Gary Smalley? And he basically, the idea behind it is that we don't always want to be loved in the same way. And so he talks about what really means a great deal to you may not mean a great deal to me. What I enjoy as far as being loved, you showing love towards me, may not be what my spouse. But yet, when we don't understand that, we give our spouse what we like, thinking they'll like it too, and it may not be at all what is their love language. And the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, physical touch. Some people are all, if we were into physical touch, we'd be up here even doing that now, you know. And quality time. So those are the 5 different ones. And you know what mine is?
Yes, definitely. Yours is words of affirmation.
Yeah. Do I want gifts?
No.
I don't mind. You know, people want to give me, it means
You're
something
okay
to me
with
because
it.
it means
Yeah.
something to them.
Right.
But if I don't get a gift, I really don't think anything about it, do I?
No.
In fact, I'll
No.
tell you, you know, I really don't want you to get me anything.
Yeah.
Right?
No. He just likes words of affirmation. And
I love it.
yeah. And this is kind of a thing that we've done ever since I can remember, since we've, been in the ministry, is that every Sunday after service, he'll say,
Yep.
how was it? Did I do a good job?
No, I say, how did that go? How did I
Yeah,
do today?
and I always say, you did a great job. You just knocked it out of the park. It was so good.
Yeah.
And there was a few times where he'd say, you say that every time.
I said, listen, I know that occasionally it stinks. I know occasionally I didn't do a great job. In fact,
Yes.
I know when I don't do a good job. And so, she is so affirming, she's not going to say,
I'm not gonna,
well, actually,
yeah.
it did kind of stink now that you
Yeah.
mention it. She's just not going to do that.
No.
So again, I love the fact that I wish she would be a little more honest with me, honestly.
That sounds kind of bad. Be
No,
more honest with me.
No, it's, again, that, I will be honest with you. If you ask me
Yes.
how'd that go,
Yeah.
you could have whatever, and I'm that honest with myself too. But her point is she's so affirming that she's just not going to say
Right.
anything negative to me. She just seldom ever does. And
Yeah.
so I love words of affirmation.
Yeah.
Now, if I ask you what your love language is, what would you tell me?
Probably all of them.
But you would say words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation.
Yeah. Because you do like for me,
I do like for you to.
but I just know the lady likes gifts too.
I do like gifts. Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Now, and you don't like just any gift. Man, let me go buy you a snow globe.
Yeah.
Let me go buy you a Santa Claus.
Yeah. Anything
Let me
like
go
that.
buy you something that has anything to do with Christmas, fall,
Right.
Easter, any of the holidays, so that you
love
can
it.
stick it around
Yeah.
on the walls, on the cabinets.
I love it.
Right?
Yes, I do.
Man,
Yeah.
your old face lights up, and
I
I'm
do.
getting lucky tonight.
I do, yes.
Home is good. Just
like
buy her
it.
a Santa Claus and home is
Yeah,
good.
I like it.
I don't know
Yeah.
why I didn't realize that sooner, but anyway. So again, and sometimes you give, you don't give like, well, when they do something nice for me, I'll do something nice for them.
Right.
I'll show them love when they show me love. You can't do any of these things that way. You have to do all of these knowing that it's what the Bible tells us
Yes.
works,
Yeah.
and we're smart enough to do what works. Come on.
Yeah.
And so we do these in faith,
Yeah.
regardless of what our spouse is doing in the moment, knowing that if we do what's right, good is going to follow.
will come.
If we keep doing what
Yes.
we've always done, how many know if we
gonna
always
be
do what we've always
good.
done, we're always going to get what we've always gotten.
Yeah.
And you know what the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again, thinking you're going to get a different result. And it's amazing how many times we do the same thing over and over again, the same wrong thing in marriage, thinking something's going to change, and it never does. How many know you got to do it right?
Yes.
Luke 6:38, really, this is where it comes down to just our giving. Give. This is the mindset Jesus said we should have. And this really is not even about money. We use it for that. It's applicable, but it's about everything. Give, and it will be given to you, but it'll be given to you good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over will be put into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you.
Yeah.
So whenever I respond, whenever Sheila responds to me in faith, in a loving way, even though I may not deserve it in the moment, it's going to come back to her, but it's going to come back good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, which is what she wants. And you know who it's going to come from? It's going to come from me.
Yes.
Do you know why it's going to come from me? Because I'm the one she gave
Yeah.
the love to in the first place. Can you all see that?
Yes.
So we said, well, that won't work in my marriage. It won't work in your marriage with that attitude.
No.
It'll work in any marriage who will put it to work and be consistent with it.
Yes.
Amen?
Yeah.
Number 6, and this is huge. We didn't know this. We didn't understand this for years. You got to have a vision of the marriage you want and then set goals for your marriage.
Yeah.
And we just thought, we're married, we love each other, so therefore, this is just going to work. And I had one idea of what our marriage is going to look like over the years. You had another idea. And when we sat down and started talking about what our idea of our marriage was, we found out we were not on the same page.
At all. Yeah. I was more like, when we first got married, I was more like, I wanted him to be my knight, and
In shining
do all
armor.
this. And I soon realized that was not going to happen. And then,
Why did I bring her up here?
and then as years went by, I wanted picnics, I wanted to go on walks and all this kind of stuff. Not his thing at all.
No.
And so we had to learn. I had to learn that it's okay if he doesn't do those things.
Right.
We found things that we talked about, worked out.
Made compromises.
Yeah.
But it all came from vision.
It
So
did.
what happened is our marriage got so bad and, no vision. And so we sat down one day and I said to her, hey, listen, I don't think either of us like where this is going. We do not like the marriage we have.
No.
We would never have done this intentionally, This is all by accident, but yet we're the ones who did it. And I said, let's talk about this. Where do you see, where do you want to see our marriage going? What do you want to, and here's really what I put mine clear out to the end at first. I said, right now we don't even like each other. And I said, man, our kids are going to grow up and they're not even going to be in the house any longer. And so they're not going to be there. They're not going to be a real, consistent part of our life, which more than we thought they would.
Yeah.
But anyway, to this point, and I said, man, I just want to grow old together, which we've obviously done. And I said, I want to know that I am spending my latter days with someone who has become my best friend.
And we have become that.
And we enjoy each other's company. We enjoy being together. And if we're not around anybody else,
Right. We're okay.
we're okay.
Yeah.
Is that what we have?
Yeah.
Is that where we were going?
No.
No.
And, even when we first got married, we would go out and we would drive around and we would look at houses.
Yeah.
And we would.
Here's how vision works. Yeah, go.
We would, say, oh, that's the house we want to live in. That's what we want to do. We could even visualize the rooms and how they were set up. We would go look at our furniture, what we were going to pick out, even though we didn't have the money to, buy anything. But we would go and do that as, because we could envision that. We could see that. But then when it came to our marriage, it was kind of like, oh, wow, we had no vision.
We had no vision.
And it was going, we had a vision. It was like going downhill fast.
It was. But
Yeah.
so what's funny is, it's not funny, but matter of fact, because we had vision for the home we wanted to live in and a vision where we wanted to be financially, we actually achieved that.
Right.
The houses,
Yeah.
she's lived in so many houses, it's
Yeah.
crazy. But many of the houses that we went and looked at, we've lived in.
Yeah.
So we at the moment, there's no way we could have, we never thought we could.
Right.
But we eventually ended up living in some of those homes that we
Right.
envisioned ourselves
That we-
lived in.
yeah.
So that's the amazing thing about vision. When you have a vision for any aspect of your life, what you'll do is you'll create these goals, you'll
Right.
create these disciplines
Yes.
that will get you there.
Yeah.
So we get a vision for our marriage, we get a vision for our family, we get a vision for our finances, and then we embrace these disciplines that get us there. Where there is no vision,
Right.
we cast off restraints.
Yeah.
We cast off the disciplines we need to make that happen in our life.
Yes.
But when we get a vision, when we both start seeing the same thing, watch this, and then we
Yeah.
both put purposeful action into getting, to getting there. We're working together. We're working in tandem.
Right.
One can
Yeah.
put 1,000 to flight. Two can
Yes.
put 10,000 to flight.
Yeah.
If any two agree is touching anything on this
It
earth,
will come
it
to
shall be,
pass.
Man, you can accomplish anything together when you
Right.
have a vision for it and you're both working together with
Yes.
it and with
Yeah.
the same energy and heart.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we did it in other areas. We had to do it
in
our marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and also I mentioned in first service that I journal. Now, I journal in a way that most people probably don't, because if I'm out somewhere or if I'm in the car and, God will speak to me, I'll write it down on a napkin, on a piece of paper, whatever, and then I just stick it inside my journal. So if you read my journal, you'd think, oh, man, this doesn't make any sense. But back a few weeks ago, before we even started going over our notes and stuff, I was going back through some of my journals, and I saw where I had journaled, and from where I listened to a message on marriage. This was years ago, talking about having a vision for your marriage. And don't wait until you're in that time, in that season, before you start setting your goals. Set them now. So I even jotted down when John was our youngest. So I put down, when he leaves the house, my vision for my marriage, for us, is that I will know him in a way that I have not known him before this time, and that we'll pick up from where we're at. In other words, it's not like he's a stranger to me.
We grew closer.
Yes, that we grow closer to each other. So I would suggest to you that, you go home and journal something in your journal. Reach for that vision, reach for that goal, and then run after it. And I heard someone once say, chase after your vision, chase after your goal, but never actually reach it. And the reason is because once you get there, then you just keep going. You keep going, on to something different, something new.
Yeah, I said this in the first service with regard to that. If you're so far in debt, it's ridiculous. Your vision is to get out of debt. So when you reach the land of even, you think, wow, this is awesome. But then when you get there, it ain't awesome long, because you think, well, man, I'd like to do well. I'd like to have retirement, whatever. And so your vision changes. And so that's what she's saying. Your vision should always be enlarging, because you're achieving your vision. You're getting there.
Right.
And you're realizing what could be.
Yeah.
And so the Bible talks about writing the vision, making it plain, so that he who reads it may run with it. So you have to write the vision, and you write it a lot with your words.
Right.
You can write it down, but you write it a lot with your words.
Yes.
And so by writing the vision, talking it out, you're getting each other on the same page so that you can start moving forward towards it. Make sense?
Yeah.
We got to move on.
Yeah.
Number 7, you need to reinstill romance into the relationship. And I'm not talking about sex here. I'm talking about romance. They're two very different things. One might lead to the other, not necessarily. But, very often, whenever you've been struggling in your marriage, when we were struggling in our marriage, there was no romance. Before we got married, there was all kinds of romance. Man, we held hands. We called each other on the phone, talked forever, just listened to each other breathe. Do you remember those? And, and just for hours. We did take walks and whatever. Just, huggy, whatever. You get it. There's just all this romance. But, man, romance takes a huge hit whenever you're not getting along. And so you've got to reinstill it back into the relationship if you want, to actually have a reset in your marriage. And so I remember when we'd gone through years of just fighting, fussing, horrible, and, just horrible. And so when we realized this, I wanted that romance back in our relationship. And, I'm the one who'll take the first step. I think the man should honestly lead. That's entirely another thing. But anyway, I remember reaching over, taking her hand for the first time in years, not months, years. Yeah. And I reached over to take her, and I actually saw somebody else. It was a couple that is in our church at the time, and we hung together a lot, and they were always romantic. Yeah. And I saw them, and so I reached over, and I grabbed her hand because God used it to inspire me, to convict me. Right. And so I reached over to grab her hand, and when I did, it felt so awkward. I mean, it just felt like...
we felt like everybody was staring at us, and they weren't,
it just felt not normal. Yeah. But I wanted it to be normal. Yeah. I don't want not wanting to hold hands, feeling awkward holding hands, feeling awkward kissing. I don't want that. Right. Come on, I want a great marriage, right? And so we had to start restoring, reinstilling, holding hands, romance back into the marriage. Yes. Sending flowers, sending cards, now sending text, but don't do like a friend of ours did. Yes. He thought he was sending his wife this text, and it was a real juicy text. Can't wait till I get home tonight. Can't wait till I see you in this. Can't wait till we're doing this. Wow, what a night, what a night. And he sent it to a mutual friend of ours. And so he calls me and he says, Archie, what should I do? I said, dude, you got to text him back. You got to text him back. You got to let him know. And so he texts him back and he says, man, I can't wait till you get home tonight. So anyway, be careful about sending those ones, all right? So reinstill romance. Number 8, this is hands down the one thing that is an absolute. If you don't do this, there is no reset button being pushed. There ain't nothing happening. Nothing's going to change. You got to choose to forgive your spouse for whatever they've done and then move on from the past. Yeah. And when I say choose to forgive, you're not going to feel like forgiving. They're not going to deserve you forgiving. And I didn't say this in first service. Don't wait for them to apologize before you forgive them.
Yeah. Because we didn't do very much
Don't we
apologizing.
this?
Well, you didn't.
Who always apologizes?
No, really, you do. You are the one that will apologize.
You do?
Yeah.
So see, I have to choose.
But I don't do anything wrong. So.
No, this is what the lady does. I didn't talk about this. This is so good because this will help. Guys, I'm just telling you, maybe it's a woman thing. I don't know. But I'll go to her and I'll say, hey, listen, I'm so sorry. And, it's okay.
I forgive you. Yes. And he's waiting for me to say.
Okay, and then sometimes I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And she will, you didn't talk right to me. Okay. And so I'll wait for her to, hey, I apologize.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't. So then I'll say, you're not even going to apologize.
Yeah.
Remember, I want you to own it. You're not even going to apologize. And she'll go, I'm sorry, I apologize. I said, nope.
It
doesn't count now. You can't apologize after, right? You can't apologize after I've told you to. I know, we're so different than all of you guys.
Let's hit reset. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, you had to forgive. Obviously, so my whole point is, don't wait. Just listen. If we waited on each other, it's back and forth. I'm as guilty as she is.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
She's as guilty as I am. Don't wait for each other to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Be the bigger person in the moment.
Yes.
And just do what the Bible says and forgive.
Yeah.
You are not doing them a favor. You're doing you a favor.
Yes.
The marriage is not moving forward until you forgive the person and you
Yeah.
make up your mind. You're moving on.
Yeah.
We're not going to bring this up again.
Because holding that offense is hurting you.
Yeah.
It's not hurting the person that you.
And the marriage is not going forward, is it?
No.
We did that for years.
We did it for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter, his wife offends him one day, and he goes to Jesus. I know that's what it was. And he goes to Jesus and said, how many times do I need to forgive my wife? 7 times? It's actually his brother. And Jesus said, oh, no, Peter, not 7 times. You got to forgive her 70 times 7. He knows women. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody say 70 times 7.
70 times.
You
7.
do know he's not telling you to forgive them 490 times. He's saying, hey, forget about the number. Every time someone does something to offend you, choose to forgive them in that moment. Don't get hung up on that offense. Forgive them and move on. Just let it go.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Number 9, we got to hurry. Number 9, I wish I had another hour. Rekindle the flames of passion in the bedroom. Rekindle the flames of passion in the bedroom. I like second service because there's not as many religious people in it. First service has a lot of our folks who have been with us forever. And anytime I bring up sex, there's just a few people who they put their head down like this and they're upset because I'm talking about sex in church.
Yeah.
Can I tell you, the Bible talks about sex.
Yes.
It talks a lot about sex.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm glad it does.
Yeah.
I think sex is one of the greatest gifts God gave marriage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I do view it as that. And I can prove to you that it's vital to there being intimacy in your marriage and to you becoming one. And I don't just mean physically,
Right.
I mean to you becoming one. And man, we live in a time when, man, there's just a lot of sexless marriages. That's being played way down as though it's not important. But the Bible talks about just how important it is. And even a single guy, Paul, the Apostle Paul, wasn't married. This is what he says in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 about the importance of sex in marriage. The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs. And see, I realize that with Sheila, man, I'll tell you what, it seems like it's every night. And I just have to say, babe, can't we just cuddle? Can't we just hold each other? Does it have to be every night? But anyway, the husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to the wife. So it's this mutual thing of understanding. We both have needs. The needs may be different, but we're understanding of each other's needs, and we're there to serve each other. That's actually what you're doing. You're serving each other. We serve like crazy around here. So do not deprive each other of sexual relations. Don't deprive each other of sexual. It's not cool to not have sex in a marriage. Right. So he says, well, I just don't like having sex. Well, then you should not have gotten married because sex is a part of marriage. Yes. Well, it's just not important to me. The fact that it's not important to you does not mean that it's not important to your spouse. Right. Yeah. And you're setting them up for a lot of frustration, temptation, a whole lot of things. Let me finish reading this. Do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy. And now watch how frequent it should be for a limited time so you can give yourselves more completely to prayer. So, how long should it be that we abstain from having sex? How long do you go off and pray? 3 days, 6 days, 7 days? Probably not a whole lot longer than any of those. And so it sounds like it ought to be pretty frequent to me. You have to establish that between you and your spouse. We've had, and it's changed over the years. Trust me, it's changed over the years. Afterwards, you should come together again so that Satan would not be able to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So whenever there's no sex in a marriage, and I was honest with Sheila because it wasn't as important to her, honestly, on the front end. And she also got where she thought every time we had sex, she was going to get pregnant and have a kid. Yeah. And anyway, I told her, I said, listen, it's very important to me. And, maybe you don't care about it as much, but I do. And when you turn me down, I feel rejected. When you turn me down, it becomes very frustrating after a while. And quite honestly, temptation starts rising. And, I'm not going to give place to that, but nor would I like to constantly have that in my life also. And she needed to understand that. Now, trust me, I've talked to women where, or we talked to marriages, I should say it this way, where the roles were reversed. The husband just not as big a deal. I don't get that, but not as big a deal. But it was to the wife. And so we've discovered it's almost always important to one of the spouses more than it is the other. And so you've got to come together on this and work.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You know, we had to come together and talk about it because, you know, you're not always going to be in the mood, you know.
Not at the same time.
No. But yeah, so we would have to sit down and talk about it and discuss it. We even got to the place where when our kids were little, and even now because our lives are so busy, but we would schedule time, you know, and we'd say, okay, on this day,
if you're going to put a schedule together, why not put that on there?
Yeah, so that's what we would have, because it's that important. You know, you put things on your schedule through the week, right? Of everything that you're going to do, what you want to do, all that. You make sure you get that on the schedule. Well, I'm telling you, you better make sure that you schedule in.
Oh, I'm too tired. Well, you wasn't too tired to do this.
Yes, make sure you
wasn't
schedule
too tired to do that.
The time. I have to tell this story, though, that I told this morning. Is
Better
that okay?
hurry. Okay.
All right, the story is that this was when our kids were little, and we had this signal at home when we were, you know, okay, tonight's the night, you know. So he did his signal to me, tonight's the night, and I'm thinking,
if I was away, if I was gone somewhere, I would call you.
Yeah.
I'd say, I sure hope you're rested.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought, oh, you got to be kidding, not tonight. So I had said, okay, well, you go on to bed. I got a few things to do. And so I would wash dishes like slow. One dish, 30 minutes, you know, washing one dish. Then I had to do something else. And then I would listen to see if I could hear him snoring. And then I would creep into the room. And I'd kind of just slide into the bed, not wanting to wake him up. And when I said that this morning, I said, I don't think I ever told you that story.
No, but let me
I
assure you,
doing.
the following morning we discussed it.
Yeah,
So
I'm not saying that's the ideal thing, but
so
ladies, I know sometimes
I want to read the
our
Bible
bodies.
to you now, though. I didn't think about this. Do not deprive each other.
Yes.
Don't get those dishes done.
Yes.
Put those dishes up for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And that's what I should have done, but I didn't.
Yeah. So, and we used to make a big deal out of this. We used to fight over it. We don't now.
We don't. No.
And so I want to say this real quick because we've got to close.
Yeah.
But I told someone after first service, because we understand each other's sexual needs, and I say, hey, you know, if she looks at me and she says, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm kind of tired.
Right.
I don't care if you're tired.
No.
Yeah, okay, that's fine, babe.
Yeah.
Get your rest tonight.
But it better not happen every night. Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I'm not.
Sure.
I stopped making a big deal, and you need to stop making stop making everything like it's well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to set myself up to be angry, to be frustrated, and make a big deal out of something that really is just me not being understanding of her, because even though I'm in the mood and I'm rested, she may not be, okay?
Yeah.
And so that's a big deal. I just think sex in a marriage, it's huge. There's at no time do we feel more one,
Together.
more happy and together in our marriage than whenever that's a regular part.
And I've even noticed too that sometimes I may be unforgiving with you on something, but then when we do come together and we do have sex, then it seems like I have forgotten about what I was even.
Well, there you go. So see, now I have a new approach.
Yeah.
Is there anything you need to forgive me for? Yeah.
No, that's true.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I didn't know that. Number 10, this is last, and I can say it real quick, is if you want to do a reset on your marriage, get involved and stay involved in the local church. And just so you know, this is not a preacher just taking advantage of the fact, this is really me preaching to the choir if you think about it. Yeah. If you look at the stats, and I'm not talking about just religious stats, I'm talking about even secular studies that have been done, there's a direct correlation between a happy, healthy marriage and church involvement. Not just coming, but being involved. Right. Couples with long-lasting, healthy, satisfying marriages indicate that their involvement in church is high on their priority list. So in other words, you have a better chance of having a great marriage when you're attending and involved in church. And I can prove that. 1 out of 2.5 marriages, 1 out of every 2.5 marriages end in divorce. If a married couple commits to attending church weekly, that number drops to 1 in every 1,105 marriages. And I believe that because in our church, do we ever have divorces? Occasionally. But we don't have 1 in 2.5. Do we have the 1 in 1,000? I don't know. I can't tell you that. I'm just telling you that whenever you're in church, the very fact that you're in church says that you're making your relationship with God a priority. That always helps your marriage. It says that you're in a place where you can hear things that are going to help challenge you in your thinking and hold you accountable in your relationships. That helps your marriage. Can you all see that? So it pays to be involved.
That's what I was going to say. We're always offering things here, like the marriage conference, that's teaching on, marriage, but plus just relationships with people within the church. That, if you're struggling in your marriage, find a couple that are maybe a little further along the road than you are, and connect with them, so that they can walk you through some things and help you with some stuff. I know, the person that I'm thinking of is Sarah, and she was married to Jim at the time, but she was one of the,
Jim passed away.
Couples.
Jim and Sarah were best friends.
Yes.
Our best friends. And Jim passed away when he was young.
Yeah.
Way too young. And she's married to
a very, very nice guy now. Yeah. He is.
We're always uncomfortable talking about this.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, because,
But they were one of the couples that we actually would.
Which you do the same.
Yes, we kind
But
of
we'd get around
ourselves.
Sarah and Jim, and they were just so lovey-dovey, holding hands, and it just.
We did.
Being around them helped us.
And I think I'm looking at Skip and Susie sitting here for another good example is them and their marriage, because I see them and how they respond and talk to each other. Well, they do in public. No, just kidding. No, no, just teasing. So, but so make sure, that you connect with other couples in the church.
Yeah.
So.
Wise people hang with wise people.
Yeah.
Good marriages hang with other good marriages.
Yeah.
Did you get anything out of this? Did you enjoy this? Yeah, I think.